forensic scientist accused of mishandling over 600 independent cases. Put up the picture full mass. This is a hell of a thing. 652 cases. Yvonne Woods, they call her Missy. Missy, a former forensic scientist at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, has been accused of manipulating DNA evidence over her 29-year career as an internal affairs investigator into 652 cases that she worked. They found she took shortcuts. She deviated from their testing protocols. And what officials said was, quote, an unprecedented breach of trust. Following a 6-month investigation, authorities released a stunning March 8 report that claimed Missy willfully manipulated investigative data and in some instances posted incomplete DNA results as part of criminal evidence she handled between 2008 and 2023. One of the most notable cases she reportedly worked was the infamous Colorado Hammer killer, a series of murders that occurred in the Denver metro area between January and July 1984, which remained unsolved for more than a decade before the killer was identified as Alex Ewing. The scandal raised doubts about all of Wood's work, prompting state investigators to look at other cases dating back to 1994, when she first joined the agency. The findings of the investigation triggered a rush in district attorney's offices across the state to find any affected cases in their jurisdictions, as more than 1,000 criminal convictions might have been won on questionable evidence. Now remember, she's in charge of the state, right? So that means the local jurisdictions relied on the state apparatus to provide support in their forensic DNA analysis and thus the presentation of the evidence in court. With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. The Office of the Colorado State Public Defender, which represented the overwhelming majority of defendants in the criminal cases because they could not afford an attorney, said it was blindsided by the report after finding out about the investigation the same day in a press release, calling the agency's lack of transparency extremely concerning. They found out when we found out, even though as attorneys, their clients are the ones whose rights had been violated. And so instead of notifying them that possibly we have a miscarriage of justice based on a client that you have represented, the public defender's office, the attorneys in the public defender's office found out about this the same day we did. Put her up full mass. It was September when Missy Woods came on the radar after an internal review found anomalies in some cases she worked. An internal review. It took this long for one internal review to happen. Woods then abruptly resigned that year in November. When she was confronted about the findings leading to chaos within the agency as a broader criminal probe was launched last year, that criminal probe remains ongoing right now. Earlier, officials mentioned that they would have to re-examine 3,000 DNA samples, which would cost $1,000 each. This is nearly as many tests as the state usually performs in an entire year. This is a year budget. This is an annual budget amount totaling about 3,600. The state has already set aside $7.5 million to re-examine all the DNA samples involving Woods, including funds to launch a massive review of the related convictions and potential retrials. The public defender's office suggested that all the criminal cases would probably need to be reopened. All, did you hear that? All would probably need to be reopened due to the alleged misconduct, although officials have not yet identified them. The overall number of questionable cases could grow as investigators continue to pour over a mountain of DNA testing done by Woods. With a flood of convictions at stake due to the potential of misleading evidence, that means that people are likely in prison who are wrongfully convicted based on the lies of this investigator. There's more. So far, the investigation has not found that Woods faked DNA matches or created phony DNA profiles. Instead, she deleted and changed data in the case files, tampered with DNA test results, did not follow standard testing procedures, the report said. Woods also failed to conduct additional testing to back up her results as required by lab policies. And let me remind everyone, anybody who was convicted based on this DNA evidence, even if they did it, remember, innocent is a legal term of art. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Well, if you're proven guilty based on DNA that did not follow the standard chain of custody that's required based on law, and you presented that it was, well, you have to give that person who was convicted under that paradigm another opportunity at defense here. You do. The court requires it. This is why it doesn't pay to have corrupt individuals inside of your workforce, especially as it relates to being an investigator or police officer. Because look at all the money that now the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, a police outfit, look at how much money they got to take away from taxpayers to try and remedy this wrong. Woods has denied allegations through her attorney, Ryan Brackley, who says she never did anything to intentionally compromise the cases she touched. The Bureau said it is conducting a full review of all of its DNA analysts to ensure the accuracy and completeness of its entire catalog of records. During their investigation into Woods, the CBI also discovered potential manipulation of DNA testing data by an analyst working at the Northern Regional Forensic Laboratory, employed by the Weld County Sheriff's Office. So they're finding more manipulation of DNA. They're finding more manipulation of evidence on record that has been utilized to either A, get a conviction, or B, get a plea deal. What is happening here? Now, while the Bureau, the State Bureau will place the emphasis on the forensic investigator or scientist, there's enough blame to go around. How do you allow someone to have that much control without a check and balance system in place already? This doesn't happen if there's a check and balance already affixed to the process. All right, Mr. Mayor, hell of a thing here.
Yeah, I'm baffled by this, but also not surprised, right? And we've already talked about this today, and since we've been alive, probably we've been having conversations about the corrupt nature of the institution of policing in this country. Doc, I just want to say there's 708,000 police officers in America. If a conservative number, 10% of them are corrupt in the manner that this officer is, we're talking about 700 million cases that need to be reviewed. And that sounds like a big number, but I'm talking about only 10% of officers, and we've seen what they're capable of when they get together.
Yeah.
When they're unchecked, and when we have body cameras now. So imagine what it looked like before body cameras became mandatory in so many cities and municipalities. This is extremely telling of how bad we need outside looks into policing departments in this country.
That's right, well said.